Hey there friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping in today. I have a new layout for Hip Kit Club and I'm using the 2020 August kits, and this is for Cut File Tuesday, so I'm going to be featuring an exclusive cut file today. And I was also in the mood to use some flowers, and so I pulled out a couple of the pattern papers from the main kit, and both of these papers are exclusive to Hip Kit. The flowers on this paper are just so pretty. I love the colors and the different blues and the different sizes and the flowers. So I thought I would just start by fussy cutting some of these out, and then I'm going to cut out some of the pink ones with the reddish leaves on the second paper there and try to incorporate these onto my layout. And so this color scheme is going to have lots of pinks and blues and yellows and oranges. So there are the flowers that I've cut so far. And then this is the cut file that I'm going to use. Some of the other design team members have already used this one, but I could not resist. It's so cute. I love the font. And I had this goofy picture to scrap today of my daughter trying to smudge my glasses, which is her favorite pastime in life. And you can see by the crazed look in her eye that she, yeah, it's just a funny picture because that's how she is all the time. So I went back and forth with how to situate the cut file. Did I want it angled or did I want it straight? And it looks good either way. So I was just playing around with that. And I want to use some white thick cardstock as my background. So I'm going to first coat it with clear gesso. Since I had all those colors going on in the flowers, I really didn't want to overload the color factor with using a colored cardstock or a pattern paper as a background, so I thought I would just go with white and play it safe and then just make my own background. Now I cut the cut file twice because I want to do some shadowing, and I wasn't quite sure how I wanted to do that. I did know that I wanted to add some color to this cut file here, so I'm going to coat it with gesso as well. This is the same gesso. That's the Art Basics by Finnabair. That's what I've been using lately, and I love it. It's smooth and it's wonderful. So I went ahead and just added that to both of the cut files just to play it safe. Like I said, I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do to it yet. So I'm going to start to play around with everything before I start adding color to see what I'm going to do with these flowers. I just had the idea of kind of tucking the photo in there. If you see where the G goes, it kind of matches the curve of where my ear and my neck and my shoulder kind of make that curve. The G kind of fits right in there. And so I thought, well, that is the perfect spot for the picture to go. So I had the idea of just scattering the flowers all around it, kind of like you see there. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And I went back and forth with what color to add to the background. I tend to use blue a lot, so I thought I would go different and use yellow. And I'm going to mix a couple of our ink pads that we got a few months ago. These are from the Stamp Market, an orange one and a yellow one. And since I added the gesso onto my paper and it dried, I was able to just, you saw what I did there, I just stamped the ink pad right onto it and then spritzed it with water, and it instantly turns into watercolor. And I kind of want this big color wash of that deep yellow color, that golden yellow color on the background, and it's going to make the cut file pop. It's going to make all those flowers pop. I just went with a color that wasn't prominent. There are a couple of yellow flowers, but they're mostly pink, orange, and blue. And my photo has a big chunk of pink in it because my daughter's tank top is pink. So I thought if I did a pink background, that'd just be too much. So I wanted to do something other than blue because I love blue, but I do use blue a lot in the backgrounds. And so we went with yellow today, and I really like how it winds up looking once it's all done. I'm using my brush a little bit to add some water, but mainly I'm just tilting the page back and forth and letting it run. I mean, it's the easiest way to do it, and you get this really fun, natural look. You know, I don't want brush strokes. I want it to look like a nice soft color wash with soft edges and everything. So this is just how I tend to do that whenever I want a big chunk of color in the background. And I mixed in some of the orange ink pad because the yellow one, it's more of a mustardy yellow, and I wanted more of a golden yellow, and so the orange was perfect to mix in with that. So this is kind of dry. It looks like a demented smiley face, the way it kind of dried there. I don't know if you can see that, but I can see it. But it's okay, because once I start to add things back on top of it, you're not even going to notice that. So I thought that I would take it a bit further and go ahead and add some splatters. And so I'm going to mix those same ink pads together on my little stamping block there. I use my stamping block for quite a bit other than stamping. It's good to mix your colors on. It's good to stamp with. As far as what I mean, I know it's a stamping block, but what I meant was the way the color's on there now, I could pick it up, turn it over, and smush it down like a stamp. And I've done that before too, and that's fun. So that's why my little stamping blocks look so weathered, because I do a lot with them. But yeah, they work great, and this is the perfect one to do this little bit of mixing here to add some splatters. So I thought, okay, that looked good. I went ahead and kind of dabbed them up, and they softened up quite a bit, but that's okay. I'm going to add more later. I just was impatient and didn't want to wait for them to air dry, because I already waited for the background to dry, and you know, when you're ready to go, you're ready to go. So I put the background aside. I'm going to start to work on layering my photo, and I'm almost out of my white tissue paper. I've got to go get some more, but I had this little scrap piece left, and I'm going to layer that behind my photo there for a messy little layer. And then I'm going to add some adhesive foam behind the photo as well, because you know I like to pop my photos up. I almost always pop the photos up off the page. And this is just kids craft foam that I get at Walmart. You get like 40 sheets in one pack for $5, and they're all different colors. Very easy to cut and add to, you know, whatever shape or size that you're working with. Okay, so I know how the design's going to go. I got my background officially dry, and I'm going to start to work on bringing all those flowers back again and see how they look with the yellow. And I'm glad I went with the yellow. I think it looks pretty with all of those pink and yellow and blue flowers. And I like that there's a bunch of different styles of flowers, and even some leaves that I cut out. I wasn't really, you know, trying to get all one style of flower. I just wanted a whole bunch of different flowers, and so I like how that looks. I'm gonna take it off again, and every time I put the flowers back on there, it's different. They never look the same twice. But here's where I start to add some color to my title. Now, I thought, let's add pink. So I pulled out the pink and the red, and all of these are ink pads that we've got in previous kits, but I decide against that, and I decide to go with blue. So this is where I add some blue, and I'm going to start out with the hydrangea petals blue. This is the darker blue ink pad that we get in the August color kit, and I'm going to lightly scrape along the bottom first here and activate it with water and see how that looks. I just wanted the bottom of each word to have like this really pretty blue on the bottom, and so when I layer the other cut file under it, it'll be more of an obvious shadow effect. And this turned out really, really light, so I'm going to continue to work on it. This time I just take the ink pad and just smudge it right on top of it and add a little bit more, and that worked a little bit better. And since I added the gesso on this previously, it activated with water really, really well. You know, if I wouldn't have added the gesso, it would have just instantly dried right onto the paper. Now, I did add a bit of shimmers here. We got this several years ago. Well, I say several, a few years ago maybe. It's a blue color spray from Shimmers called Deep Blue Sea, and it matches the blue, the darker blue color in those flowers perfectly. So I just kind of spritz that along the bottom to add another layer of blue, and then I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom of Good. And I'm liking how this is looking, and it's going to look really cool when I layer this on top of the other cut file. So this is something I actually did this technique not too long ago. I think it was my first layout with the August kits. It was the one with the blue background that with the cut file that said hello, 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 hello. I cut that twice and layered it as well, and I just like to do that with big titles like this, especially when it's you know, in cursive font like this. It looks really cool once you have it all glued together. The effect of it just creates some really neat dimension and the whole 3D effect just comes to life. Now, you know I can't make a layout this month without using these Nuvo crystal drops. I'm obsessed with smudging them down like paint. This works beautifully, and this color, I love this color. This is from the main kit, I think, for this month, and so this basically finishes off the good vibes here. I lightly squirt some on there and then just use my palette knife to scrape it on. I've done this on backgrounds. I think I used it on my previous 2 backgrounds. And I think I need every color of this stuff, so I could just smudge away whatever color I need. Because this is, I think I only have 2 colors of this. I think we got a light pink color in a previous hip kit not too long ago, several months ago, I think. And yeah, it's pretty cool. So now you can see what I'm talking about. Now that the top one has some color to it, you can see the shadow from the bottom one. And once I slide it out a little bit more and glue it together, you'll be able to see it a little bit better. But yeah, on the layout that I made that says hello, 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 I cut it once on white cardstock and then once on pattern paper. And so that's another idea. If you don't want to do mixed media, you could cut the same thing on pattern papers and offset it a little bit so you create this little dimensional shadow. Yeah, I love this cut file. I love scripty words that you can just blow up really big to use as a title. And it gives you, this one specifically gives you the perfect spot to add your photo. I'm going to pop this up as well, so that's what I was doing there. But if you see what I'm talking about, it has the spot above the V and to the left of the G. It instantly gives you a spot for a photo. And you could definitely use multiple photos and scatter them around the cut file. I just knew that I wanted to use one big photo, and so that's what I did. Now I'm going to come back in with all the flowers, and for the 3rd time, nothing is going back exactly where it was. And that's usually why when I put things down and I like how it looks, I try to glue it all together. But in this case, there were so many little movable parts with all the flowers and leaves that it was kind of hard to do that. So I really like how that's looking. So I'm going to try to leave it alone and start to work on little by little. My trouble here was I wanted to add some thread, but I needed to start gluing some things down. So I'm going to start with the photo, and without picking anything up, I'm going to start to very carefully just get some glue under there and get it glued down so it doesn't move around. Because once I start lifting things up and tucking the thread under there, things get bumped around. 9 times out of 10, my hand hits something, or my elbow hits something, or the thread gets caught on something. So I wanted to kind of start gluing things down, especially this part here, because I knew that I wanted to add some pink thread right there excuse me, under those flowers. So I wanted to at least have the photo down so it wasn't moving all over the place. So I pulled out the main colors of thread that match all the flowers, and I've used the pink. I'm going to use some of the darker blue over here on the left. And I love how that looks. Sometimes the thread just loops exactly like I want it, and sometimes I have to work with it. The blue worked great right there. And I'm going to go ahead and glue down everything there on the side. And I'm using Scotch tacky glue in my bottle. I almost always get a question about the glue that I use. That's the only glue I've ever put in my fine liner bottle. It has worked perfectly for years. It does not get stuck. It's not too thick. It comes right out. I just make sure that I put the lid back on after every use so it doesn't dry out, because this is quick drying glue. Most everything is glued down there. I did add a little bit of foam, like right there. Do you see that little flower on the end there? Just to kind of pop it up a little bit. I did that in a few spots. Now I went through the exclusive die cuts and the Simple Stories chipboard and the sticker book here, and I found a chipboard flower and then the same cluster in the sticker book that I just stuck down there to the left of the V. And the flowers on that are mostly, it's mostly that deeper red color that kind of matches the leaves in some of those flowers, so I thought that that would match well. And then I just sorted through the sticker book here to see if I could find anything that matched or anything that went with my theme of this page. Most of this sticker book is travel, but there are some things in there that you can use on anything. I'm going to use this little yellow sticker arrow that says this way. So I thought, you know, it said good vibes this way, pointing to the photo. I thought that worked out well, and it's yellow, it matches, but it's really thin because it's just a paper sticker. So I'm going to make it into a die cut by sticking it to some cardstock, and then I can move it around. I'm going to tuck it in there so it's pointing toward the photo. And then this is a little exclusive die cut camera. I'm going to cut the white border off so it's not as big. And I thought about putting it there. I don't know. I don't like the way it looks angled, so I'm going to wind up straightening it, but it is going to go there. I'm also going to trim off the border of this little sticker here. I had to be careful because it's very thin, but since it's going to overlap a little bit of the yellow background, I wanted to take off some of that white edge. I can't really cut it off the chipboard piece, but it's mostly on white underneath the S, so I thought I'm just going to leave that alone. Now these are the brads from the Simple Stories Going Places collection, and there were several on there that matched my colors, so I'm going to use those in a couple spots. Brads are fun. You just get to poke a hole through your paper, and yeah, how often do you really do that? I used to use brads all the time back when I first started scrapbooking, and then they went through a phase where it seemed like all the brads were fake brads, where they looked like brads, but they were just adhesive sticky things. And then, you know, then they went back to regular brads, and there may be sticky brads out there still, but just in the stuff that I've worked with. But I like both, you know, but sometimes it's fun to just get your little sticky pokey tool there and stick a hole through your paper. So I'm just doing that kind of like in place of enamel dots. And there's the little camera. Yep, I'm going to pop it up as well. And then it's going to go right there to the left of that flower cluster at the bottom of the V. And it's not the exact blue of everything, but I feel like it works. And I went back and forth with what else I wanted to add. I didn't want to add too much more. I do add some of the Simple Stories. I think those are Simple Stories. Those may be Echo Park. Enamel dots. Some of the yellow and some of that reddish pink color in a couple spots. I feel like the flowers are, you know, there's plenty of flowers. You can read the title. The photo stands out. So I didn't want to crowd anything else too much. I wanted the yellow to still show through the title because that was, you know, the whole point of doing it. But I do want to add a couple of smaller flowers and leaves. And so I remembered that that Pocket Life card is the exact replica of that pattern paper that I cut out all the bigger flowers from in the beginning. So I went through and cut out some of those and just scattered a couple more of those around the page. Add a couple more above the photo there. I just felt like the top of the photo needed a little bit of something because it was just kind of nothing up there. And then I add a couple of these phrase stickers from that Simple Stories book. And most of them, like I said, are about travel, but there are some in there. This one says something about making memories of a lifetime. I'm going to use one that says, I can't remember. There's one that says lovely. This one says photo op. So there's some general ones in there that go with any type of theme you're working with. And I like that you can cut them if you want to stack them instead of just having them be long and horizontal. All right, we're almost done here. I'm going to pull out my T-square ruler here, and since I have this little open area here, that was the most obvious spot for me to write my journaling. So that's where that is going to go, and I'm just going to use a pencil like I usually do to draw my lines, and then I'm going to use my black fine tip Sharpie to write about Paige and her obsession with poking me in the eye, because it happens every day around this house, but that's a different story. So anyway, that's the final layout. I really love how this turned out. I feel like a broken record. I say that whenever I see my final project or my final project picture at the end there. I just love how it all comes together, and I think the colors are really nice. I really like how the blue turned out on the title. I think that looks really cool. So I highly recommend, if you're going to use this as a big title, cut it twice and create a fun shadow, because it makes the dimension and the whole 3D effect really come to life. And pop it up off the page. Get yourself some adhesive foam. It's fun. I love creating dimension. But here, you know, are all the close-ups. You know me, I always take a bajillion of them. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will make sure to answer them. I hope you guys have a great week. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.